for listening to this show, well, those are your own. But just keep in mind that the views, information, or opinions expressed on the Tuddle Daily Podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of our sponsors. It's called free speech, people. Nobody's forcing you to listen. Get ready for your daily dose of Tuddle.
The all-time greatest intern/producer we've ever had, of course, Tuddle in Florida.
From the Hobo Fish Camp, it's the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
No wonder nobody likes you, Tuddle. Everything's a goddamn debate.
All right, so as always, I need a little bit of a mic check. Never know when this thing's going to be shit in the bed. Or I'm going to check it out myself. I mean, it sounds good. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know, guys. I know this is very unprofessional. I got to do this stuff every single time I log in. I think the audio sounds good. I got a lot of the usual like faces in there. Fish on J, yo, Tuddle Army in the house. But yeah, welcome to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Oh yeah, it's actually sounds good. It's funny because I haven't done anything different. Nedley Mandingo's in there. So I got a big show planned tonight. I'm going to talk about my appearance on Tom and Dan tomorrow. I'm going to be on Tom and Dan tomorrow, and I bust Tom's balls all the time about stuff like this. They will, because I was on their show last week, on with Tom and Dan, and they were asking me about my love life and stuff, and if I'm like going out on dates or I'm meeting anybody, and they were like, oh, we should do a Tuddle dating game. Wow, Fish on J, buddy. Here, Fish on J, we've talked about this, that I want to go surf fishing. I'm gonna take that 1099 Fish on J super chatting on YouTube, and I'm gonna buy the bait. But see, that's the thing about it, Fish on J. I do not have a surf pole. You've seen the reels and rods that I have. Yes, I showed Fish on J my rod. It's, kind of similar to what I have when you're comparing rods. Fish on J's definitely got a bigger rod than I do because he brings them out there. He's trying to catch tarpon and snook and all that stuff out there. I do need to go looking for a surf rod. Do you think I can borrow your rod, Fish on J, when we go surf fishing? I promise you, I will treat your rod with care, Fish on J. I promise you. Like I respect rods. And if you're kind enough to give me your rod, I'm going to return it back to you. And I'm going to polish your rod. It's going to be all nice and clean when I give your rod back to you. I know this is kind of hackish jokes and stuff, but I am looking forward to going and fishing with you, Fish on J. But yeah, guys, if you got Jason Martin, how are you, buddy? I hadn't seen you around in a while. How are you, Jason? But if you are listening right now, I've talked about this. The audio podcast is doing gangbusters. It is doing very, very well right now. I've not had these type of numbers in a really Fish on J says, I'll put my rod in your hands, no problem. Thank you, Fish on J. Wow. Ned Lee. Ned, give me a call when I get done with the show. Matter of fact, I do have an interview coming up, Ned. It's a pre-recorded interview. I was going to play it last night. It's with Bob Frier. And I know a lot of you guys probably don't care about me interviewing a local TV news anchor. But I promise you, it's not like too local or anything like that. It's not. I was already distracted because I haven't seen Iggy T in here. because Iggy T does not miss a show. She must that Canadian mass transit must have got her tonight. Who knows? But she hasn't checked in tonight. She always says hello when she gets in here. But the interview that I did with Bob Frier, and I wanted to go into it a little bit more with him, but Bob Frier is such a nice guy. I wanted to go in depth because Bob Frier worked at Fox 35 when Eric Weber was at Fox 35, and that was a weird situation. And I don't want anybody to think like I'm just going after Eric Weber for no apparent reason, but I've been nice, man. I don't know if you guys remember when I used to do Buds and Suds, or it got called so many different names when I was on the Bubba Radio Network on Bubba Army Radio. Eric Weber used to come on and do the movie reviews for us on Fridays. And after I got let go from Bubba, like we talked a few times, but then when I started my podcast and stuff, he cannot. I've asked him and asked him and asked him to be on the show, to be able to. What up, stuck in Dion's tub? How are you, buddy? Bubba lost everything. What is up, brother? Becoming bigger. I'm becoming a bigger and bigger fan. Well, dude, that really does mean a lot. Because I've only been doing this stream since the beginning of the year. And well, did the porn review, but I've been doing this since the beginning of the year, and I know a lot of people are watching the show and stuff, and I'm new to Twitch, like Stuck in Dion's Tub on Twitch. Bubba lost everything on Twitch. You know, Bubba lost everything and Stuck in Dion's Tub. I've been making some money. And I want to be able to put it back into the live stream and stuff. Do you think if can you guys email me? Because you guys have been watching Twitch and stuff, and I want to pick your brain. I mean, Lummy's Peg Juice, Twitch as well, too. I want to pick your guys' brain and kind of find out what I need to do to make Twitch grow. I don't want anybody to think that the numbers are tremendously horrible, because I do use StreamYard and I'm on multiple platforms at the same time. So just because you don't see a lot on your certain platform that you're using doesn't mean that I don't have a lot of people watching live. Now, going back and looking at the on-demand people that are watching later on and they're not watching live, because I know that 7 o'clock is a real difficult time to live stream. I do get that. But that's the thing about this online content that I'm learning, is that people will watch when they want to. That's why it's on demand. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm bitching about everything. I'm on 4. I do Twitch, Facebook. I do Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Those are all the ones that I'm on right now. And I can see how many, and it's not a lot right now, because it is hit or miss. And I got to go back and see what I talked about, what I did that certain night, or what I didn't do that night. And I'm learning. See, Iggy, did the mass transit get you tonight, Iggy T? Because usually you're like one of the first ones in when it comes to that. So I'm glad to see you there. You know what? Bubba lost everything. He asked, I've asked this before. What's the preferred platform you want us on? I really do not care. I as long as you're listening, I do not care. Whatever is easier for you, whatever platform you like, whatever is user friendly for you, I really do not care. So, however you're listening, because I don't know what it is, because since I've been doing the live stream and stuff, and I take this audio, and I beg you guys, just even if it's for a second, download the audio podcast. I really want you to hear how good of a quality audio it is. Because I don't know like what it sounds like. Well, I do, because I've gone back and listened to it, and it's not as good as the audio podcast. Because when I'm recording, it records straight from the board. It doesn't go over the internet and then gets all scrambled up and stuff. The audio that you're hearing on the audio podcast is pristine. I will put the audio podcast up against anybody's audio that's doing one, because I think it's great. I think it's tremendous. So whatever platform you want to watch, please watch it. Also, something else I don't do a lot of. If you guys get a chance, I don't like social media. If it wasn't for social media, and I actually talk about this with Bob Frier, that a lot of these program directors in radio and TV, they look at your social media numbers. And he said that was one of the things that he hated the most towards his broadcasting career, that he hated. And I know that I'm spoilers, but we talked about that. And Stuck in Dion Sub, he says, I prefer Twitch. And I look, whatever is easy. I want you guys to, I'm not one of those hosts that thinks he knows better than the supporters or the audience. No, I'm working for you. I'm trying to super serve you when it comes to the content and stuff. So I got that interview coming up with Bob Frier, but we did talk about Eric Weber. He was at CBS WKMG here in Orlando. Then he left there. I think he went out to California, and then he came back for like a week, and he was working on Fox 35 here in Orlando with Amy Caulfield, and he was only there for a week, and then he quit. He went back to California and stuff. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm butthurt or anything when it comes to Eric Weber, because I'm really, really not. Because if Eric Weber just was man enough or had the balls to just say, hey, I'm not interested in being a guest on your show, then I'd be like, okay, cool, I get it. But he doesn't even do that. Like, he does not reply to anything on social media, texts, phone calls. Just be a man, Eric Weber, because at this point, I'm kind of pissed off. I'm kind of offended. And he does a live stream on YouTube. If you just want to search him, Eric Weber, ERICK Weber, WEBER. And then I was thinking about this before the show. I was like, who do I know? The Legion of Dude. The Legion of Dude. Because if you remember a couple of weeks ago, they tried to they did raid my live chat on a Friday night when I was doing the show. And I became really, really good friends, Dr. Till. And I want to get the Legion of Dude to raid Eric Weber's chat during one of his live streams. And just like, hey, why are you dodging Tuddle? And mess with him as well, too. Because that's the thing about Eric Weber. He's done TV news and stuff. And I don't know how good he is on his feet. He used to say, oh, I'm not one of those guys that read off a teleprompter and stuff. But give me a break. Give me a break, man. When nobody else was pitting you on the air and stuff, guess who pitched it? I did. I pitched you on, and guess what? The other people on my show, they didn't give a fuck about movies at all. I had to do all the heavy lifting during that weekly appearance that you would do. You know how many listeners that used to say they hated it, but I still had you on and stuff? You can't be a man. You can't call me back and tell me you're not interested. So I got to enlist the Legion of Dude. I think it'll be brilliant because I want to see how he reacts. I'll be able to go back and pull the video and stuff and use it for content on the show. So I got the Bob Frier interview coming up, but I do want to get into a couple of news stories before I end up playing that. I don't have dental insurance, but I do go every single year to get the yearly cleaning. And I never thought about this before.
Tells the shocking story.
You know, like how you got your mouth, your hungry mouth, just wide open when you're at the dentist and stuff. I mean, look at this. This guy that went to the dentist and he was getting his a filling put in. He swallowed the drill bit. He swallowed the goddamn drill bit that the dentist used to drill into your teeth. And it got lodged in his lungs.
The CT scan tells the shocking story. An inch-long dental drill bit lodged.
Look. Oh, David, man. Semper Fi. David, let me ask you, David. If I'm not a Marine, is it okay for me to say Semper Fi? Because I want to be respectful. But David Rivera came in with $20 there. And I just want to be respectful. So I need you to kind of like fill me in. No, he's no Tucker Carlson. But David Rivera, is it okay for me to say Semper Fi? By the way, speaking of Marines, I watched another movie. After watching Peaky Blinders, I've been going back because I've watched a lot of Tom Hardy movies. Tom Hardy does not get enough credit for being a great actor. Everybody says he's a great actor, but he's not on the level of some of the big A. But Tom Hardy is amazing. And I watched that movie that he did back in 2011 called Warrior, where he was an MMA fighter. He was a Marine. Nick Nolte played his dad. And if you just like a good guy movie, just a good guy movie. I'm not saying it was Tom Hardy's best role, but it was good. And then I was YouTubing. I got into a little bit of a YouTube vortex. David Rivera says he does not have a problem with it. Okay, well, I just wanted to ask. I didn't want to offend any of the Marines because they really are the best of the best. My producer, Vulture, is a Marine. But Tom Hardy, the legend, Nelly Mandingo, what does he say? One of the young guys that worked for an electrical contractor I worked for died from a tooth infection. You know, a lot of people don't realize this. They take teeth or just mouth health. I know that sounds weird when I say mouth health for granted. And back in the day, a lot of people would die from just infections in their mouth. And let's be honest, I've had a lot of injuries. I've had a lot of broken bones, concussions, all that good stuff. Nothing compares to tooth pain. Oral pain. Yeah. Oral pain. Bubble lost everything. Took a lick. But nothing compares to tooth pain or anything. It's just bad, man. It will make you want to cry. You could be the toughest guy in the world. You got a really bad abscess or just an infected tooth. It's the worst. By far the worst. I'm not saying it's compared to labor pains and stuff. I know Iggy's in. Iggy, how was labor for you? Did you just like get the kid out pretty quick, or was it a long labor?
Deep in Tom Josie's lung. How did this happen?
Well, I don't know. I was at the dentist getting a tooth filled, and the next thing I knew, I was told
Laughing gas is the best, though. That's the only good thing about going to the dentist. But I don't even know if they really use laughing gas anymore.
I swallowed this tool. So I
Look at that. That was in his lungs. What is it? What do you think that's made out of? It looks like copper. Or I don't know. It might be some type of like rare alloy or something, but man. Wait, do I got an audio vortex, Fish on J, or are you just about my YouTube vortex? Because man, oh man, look at that. That was in his lungs.
didn't really even feel it going down. All I did was really felt a cough.
Oh, so Nelly Mandingo says they do use laughing gas. I had never had laughing gas before. And Jim Phillips, the host of the Phillips File back in the day at Real Radio 104.1, you know, that's the thing about Jim. Jim was always open. He used to talk about doing cocaine and smoking weed and stuff. He actually lived at the Swamp. He had an apartment at the football field. And he used to talk cocaine, but he said laughing gas was one of the best highs that he ever had. And the next time that I went to the dentist, I was like, hook me up with that laughing gas. I had it once before, and it was amazing.
Doctors believe that inhaling just before he coughed sent the metal object deep into the 60-year-old maintenance worker's airwaves. So deep, says pulmonary expert Dr. Abdul Al-Reyes, that normal scopes...
Oh, he had a hungry mouth for that drill bit. Whoa. Wait a minute, Iggy. Really? Iggy T, I was asking her about labor. She said, it was a horrible and extremely painful. Definitely the most painful thing that I had ever experienced. The doctor had to give me an epidural, was running late, and they gave you fentanyl? Iggy. Fentanyl. Woo! They gave you fentanyl up in Canada? Wow. And wait, even that didn't help. But once the epidural was given, I felt great. Now, the epidural, Iggy, all that does is kind of like deaden the pain. Like you can't feel anything. You don't get a high off of the epidural, but how was the fentanyl high? I know that you said it didn't help you, but like, well, you probably didn't get to enjoy the fentanyl high. I mean, we're talking about something that's 100 times more potent than morphine or heroin or whatever it is. And fentanyl didn't even help you? Jesus Christ almighty. But I am curious of what that fentanyl high was like.
Couldn't reach it.
When I saw the CAT scan and where that object is sitting, it was really far down on the right lower lobe of the lung.
What happens if he can't get it out? And really, the answer was part of my lung was going to have to get removed.
That's when Dr. Al-Reyes and the Aurora Kenosha team decided to try a newer device, one not shocking story, an inch-long...
It was really far down on the right lower lobe of the lung.
What happens if he...
Is that guy German?
...can't get it out? And really, the answer was part of my lung was going to have to get removed.
That's when Dr. Al-Reyes and the Aurora Kenosha team decided to try a newer device, one not designed for removing foreign objects.
Is more for early detection of cancer, especially lung cancer.
But you knew you could use it for this.
Exactly right. The reason is
this guy like sounds like, oh yeah, definitely German. He definitely sounds German.
The size of this catheter.
As you can see from the video of the skin.
Oh, look at that. You know what this looks like? And I have watched. Have you guys ever watched the ear cleaning videos? I know that Dr. Pimple Popper is like all the rage and stuff. But have you ever watched any of the videos of them removing impacted earwax out of somebody's ear? Ugh. It's really, really gross. Because and I don't understand how people like let their ears get that bad. What do you that's the thing about it. A lot of people use Q-tips to clean their ears. But from what I've read now is that you're not really supposed to use Q-tips to clean your ears out because they say it just jams it back in there deeper. But one of the best feelings is like taking a foreign object that's not a Q-tip and getting it as close as you can to your eardrum. And I don't even know how you know how close you are to your eardrum. You kind of know. And it tickles. Like you get a little bit of an eargasm because it does feel good when you get in there really, really deep. I've used my keys before. If you're in the chat room right now, I would love to hear what's the weirdest thing that you've cleaned your ears out. We've all done it. I'm sorry that I'm the only one that can admit it. I've used keys. I've used pens. Hell, even like a dumbass, I used a safety pin one time. And I know that's not smart because my ears are really important to me. I don't want to be like Rush Limbaugh doing so much oxys and stuff that I lose my hearing and stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it, though, Nelly, man, until you go a little too far in the air. But it feels good. But what is the correct way of how you're supposed to clean your ears then? If Q-tips you're not supposed to clean your ears with Q-tips and stuff, then what are you supposed to use? Fish on Jay says he used chopsticks. I mean, come on, man. We've all done it. And let me ask you, okay, Ramiro Gonzalez, I used the curved end of a bobby pin. I've done, Ramiro, me and you are in the bobby pin or the bobby pin club because I've used that before too. But my key, where my key? Oh, I don't have my keys in here. But I've definitely used a key to a Ford F-150. Bubba Lost Everything says I used a piece of software sweet and sour chicken one time. Stuck in Dion's tub. I never even thought about that. I irrigate them with a squirt bottle and hydrogen peroxide. So that's how you're supposed to do it. That's what Stuck in Dion's tub said. That's how you're supposed to do it. So what do? Squirt it in there, and then you're just supposed to like bounce up and down and let gravity do the work. But man, see, hold on. Ramiro says, I know that when I physically active outside working a hard physical job, the earwax would just fall out of my ear. I would just shake my head and the earwax would come flying out. Now, all right, guys, this is a guy conversation. Well, hell, you know what, Iggy, if you want to comment on this one too, or any of the ladies in there, if you want to, all right, I look at the Q-tip to see how much wax I got out. And then I also do you guys all look at your paper when you wipe, when you do a number 2? I really would love to hear from you in the chat room, or even better, I would love to get a voicemail from you. If you don't want to be live on the show, you can always leave a voicemail here, 407-270-3044. Or you can leave me an email, tuddle@gmail.com. Nelly says, now, Nelly, is that just, Nelly Mandingo said, yes, I look at it. Now, is that just the Q-tip, or do you look at the paper? Stuck in Dion's tub. I had it done at the doctor's and couldn't believe how much came out. See, not a lot of people realize like how bad their hearing might be because they might have a backup in your ear canal and stuff. I didn't even know that my eyesight was bad until I went to go take a driving test and I couldn't even pass that. And then I had to go get glasses. I didn't even know that my eyesight was that bad. And then when I got the glasses, I was like, oh man, I was blind as a bat. And now the longer that I've worn my glasses, man, I can't see a damn thing when I take them off. Now, I can see close up. I can read without my glasses. I just can't drive without them. Now, I could drive with them, but sometimes I want to slam on the brakes because I don't know what exit is coming up. Sucking D on. Of course, I look after I wipe. You got to make sure you get it all. I've been, you know what? For the past 6 months, I've been big on the baby wipes. I don't know. Does that make me seem like less of a man using the baby wipes? I hit it first with the toilet paper because you never want to wipe straight away with baby wipes. You just don't want to do that. So you got to hit it with the dry stuff, then about 2 baby wipes, and then just hit it once again with that. Because there's sometimes, one of the best feelings in the world is the ghost wipe. The ghost wipe is when you take a number 2 or a dump, and you're like, oh, man, this is going to be a bad one. It's going to be like a murder scene. And then you wipe nothing on the paper. Nothing on the paper. That is a great feeling. That is an amazing feeling. But yeah, the baby wipes. I've been really, really big on the baby wipes with aloe. Like I said, if you don't want to call in live, you can always leave me a voicemail after hours of the live stream, 407-270-3044.
And the medical team was able to navigate the narrow airwaves and reach the drill piece and pull it out without any harm to the patient.
And I was never so happy in my life when I opened my eyes and I saw him with a smile under that mask, shaking a little plastic container that had the tool in it.
Now, okay, this is a great question. Did he get to keep the drill bit? Would you even want to keep the drill bit? Because I know that I would. And also another question. I hope that the dentist's office, even though this guy probably had insurance, I really hope that the dental place, the dental office, paid for the copay to be able to get a piece of metal, a drill bit, removed from your lungs. Jesus Christ almighty. All right, I'm going to play this Bob Frier interview, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to hit the story about Ron DeSantis versus Disney. I kind of see both sides of the story on this, but guess what? Disney's got that fuck you money. And, Disney's going to be sending a lot of lobbyists up to Tallahassee to grease the pockets of all the politicians and stuff. So, I don't know. Ron DeSantis might have bit off a little bit more than he can chew on this one because money gets things done in government. And Disney, like it or not, think about all the money that Disney brings to the state of Florida. I'm not just talking about the amount of people that they employ. I'm talking about the car rentals that all the tourists, when they come in to visit, think about that. The hotel tax, going out to dinner, the tolls. I mean, Orlando is one of the most tolled cities in the state of Florida. So it's not, well, also on the other hand, it's not like Disney's going to just pull up the Magic Kingdom and move anywhere else. I just, and this is where I said that I saw both sides of this whole thing. This Don't Say Gay bill is so, like, whoever named it was probably the same person that named global warming. Because me and my dad, when he was still alive, we used to get into this argument all the time. If it was cold, like, well, I mean, we've had unseasonable cold weather throughout the country. And my dad was like, oh, I thought global warming. I was like, Dad, it's global warming is not about just being hot. It's extreme weather. And this don't say gay bill is not about just not being able to say gay or straight or transgender. That's not what it's about. It's about parents being able to control what their kids are taught or not. And at the beginning, I was misinformed. I was wrong. No, well, the Don't Say Gay bill, that's what everybody's labeling it as. And it's not that people can't say gay in school or anything. It's about at a certain age, you can't talk about this type of stuff with students. And I kind of agree with it. They're not telling anybody that they can't talk about gay stuff. Now, the one thing I did not, and I don't know if it made it through on that or not, was that, if a student came out to a teacher, the teacher had to tell the parents. So I don't know if that made it through. I also don't agree on the abortion thing, but that's another story. So I'm going to get into that story after the Bob Frier interview. It is long, but I tell you guys, it is really, really good. And it's not like, even if you don't live in the Orlando area, it's a really, really good interview. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Man, I am so honored to be able to have you on, by the way, for real.
Stop.
No, I am. I really, really am. Because I'm a big news junkie type person.
Is that right?
Yeah. On the line with me right now, video chat, Mr. Bob Frier. Bob, I've talked to Sonny and I love, I know all the anchors, news,
past and present.
Past and present. Well, because I grew up here. I'm a rare breed because I'm Florida born and raised. I've grown up since I was young. I remember Mark Middleton, Dave Marsh, who's still around, and I don't think she gets enough credit. Claire Metz.
Claire Metz. Yeah, Claire was at Channel 2, and then she was on the anchor desk, right? And then I've run into her a few times reporting out in the field.
Yeah, and this is how much swagger and how much tenure she has. She's like, I'm not even leaving the county I live in Volusia. She only does Volusia County story, by the way. And I think that's good. Bob, man, what have you been up to? When did you leave Fox 35?
Let's see. I guess it would be June 2020. June 2020.
So you only had to deal with half of the Corona pandemic and stuff.
Well, yeah. And at the time it was difficult because they had to move everyone out of, it was that time when they moved everyone out of not only the studio, but out of the building. So I was anchoring from here at the house. Actually, in the living room over there, I set up my phone. My phone was my camera. My computer was my teleprompter. I had one of those halo lights set up, and I had a computer down here in case everything went haywire. But the most difficult part about it was I had to set up my TV that said Fox 35 on. I had to get a screensaver for that. But the most difficult part was I had no control of my teleprompter. So they had to roll the teleprompter back at the studio. So whoever was anchoring, it was tough for them too, because they had to continue to roll the teleprompter, even though it wasn't their story. It was always nice when you would roll teleprompter, because you can do it yourself with a little foot pedal. So if Amy had to roll, if we were together, she could take a story off and look down at her scripts and do something else or type something, but she had to roll for me back here at the house. The real problem though was there was about a 2-second delay.
I was gonna ask that. How much does it make your job easier as a newscaster to have a good partner? Because when you were at Fox 35, you worked with Amy Caulfield, probably one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. And then Sonny Abada. How important is that?
I would say it's as far as me doing my job, it's not that vast of a difference, but it makes your job so much easier when you just really get along.
More enjoyable.
I would imagine the quality of the production is that much better when people can really tell that you get along. Sonny and I had a certain type of a relationship, and Amy and I had a certain type of a relationship. I'm hard to describe both of them. They were very sort of brother sister kind of.
They were different newscasts, though. You were reporting the news when you were working with Sonny, but you were doing kind of a morning show type thing with Amy Caulfield, though, right?
Yeah, well, but don't forget, Amy and I started off in the evening. She was my when I first got there, doing the 10. I forget which ones we were doing, but we were doing the evening newscast. And she was my first co-anchor there. And then Amy went to the mornings, and Sonny and I then continued to go. And then John Brown left, and Sonny was leaving. And so they were having a hard time filling the morning show.
Wasn't Eric Weber there? Wasn't Eric Weber?
Eric Weber that was there for about a week.
Yeah, see, okay. I know you're a good guy. What was that I never ever like figured out what happened there. Like
I don't think he wanted to do it. I think he got there and then I think it became more for him than he expected it was going to. Now this is just me speaking without any knowledge, but I know that he came in one day and then said, I got to go home. And so I think he just said, no, this isn't for me. So it just didn't work out. So they had to replace an anchor in the evening and an anchor in the morning. And Amy said to me, wait a minute, you and I work so well together. You do the mornings. And I had been looking for a reason to get off of doing the evening newscast anyway, because it did look like they had so much more fun in the mornings. And so I said, sure. And it turned out to be a lot of fun.
So you've been out of it this long, but I got to tell you, you seem like you're having a lot of fun. I follow you on social media.
Yeah.
You just went to the Masters. How
I did. You want to see something crazy?
Yeah. No way. Wait, is that new or have you always had it?
No, it's brand new. And this is now I'm not saying it was completely her idea, but it kind of was. My wife says, you have to get that done. You have to do that. I was like, oh, I have permission. She said, of course. I said, go ahead. So we went around town and we got it done.
Did you get it? Before you left, I was about to ask, did you get it done in Georgia? Like
yes, in Georgia, but it wound up being in Savannah.
Okay.
Because we looked all around that night that night after we had gone. And there was no place that was available to do it. So she and I were going to spend an evening in Savannah. So we went down there and then got it done.
It's where I got married at.
Is that right?
Georgia. Well, I'm no longer married, but we're still friends and stuff. But we got married. Her favorite book was Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And we got married in one of the squares where the Mercer home is right there. So it was really, really cool. Savannah is a great town.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we enjoyed it.
If you're a partier, it's even better because you can walk around like with an open container on the streets and stuff. And
I think that's true.
But the tattoo, though, I see you got the one because you're a musician. Is that a music?
Yeah, that one. It's the treble clef and the bass clef combined.
A lot of people don't know this. I mean, you're an accomplished musician. I think you are. And what was the band that you and Scott McKenzie from Mix 105.1 that you guys had?
It was called Simulcast, and he hated that name, by the way. He thought but I was like, wait a minute, you're on radio, I'm on TV, it makes sense. We're simulcasting. He goes, I get it, but we have to explain it to everyone wherever we go. But what happened was I had written a song for my wife for our wedding, and I played it at the reception with the band. But the only recording I had of it was someone who was just shooting video that day. So I asked Scott to go into his studio and do a re-recording of it. So I had it as an actual song. And so we did it. And he said, hey, that was a lot of fun. You play piano, I play guitar. Wouldn't it be fun if we just had a band together to just jam with? Well, okay, so that got my mind thinking, and we had just done a show called Super Singer on Channel 6, and I told the woman who won, hey, if I ever get a band, you're my first phone call. Well, she was. I called her, and she said she'd love to. I looked around the studio to see Tony Triozzi played drums, and he knew two guys who played guitar, and all I needed was a bass player, and I was sitting in Dexter's one night, and in walks this guy, and I could tell he was carrying a bass. And
is that how you met him?
That's how I met him. He was carrying a bass, and I said, would you like to play? And he said, yeah, I hate these guys. So he joined our band. He now tours with a band called the Grassroots. They were big in the early 70s, and he's now their lead singer. Their lead singer passed away, and so he now tours around and does these flower power tours, and with people like the Rembrandts and the Monkees and whatever.
Where'd you learn to play? Did you like play in the high school band or like?
No. I was driving around my car and I played dashboard piano, right? You're always doing that. So I was about 18, 19 years old. And I said, this is silly. I clearly want to learn how to play. I like Billy Joel and Elton John and all the good piano players. So I took my first lesson when I was about 18. And then about a year and a half later, I was at Colorado University, CU, in their music department.
So did you grow up in Colorado?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Pretty much. I grew up Alabama, and then Dad retired, and then after my freshman year of high school, we moved out to Colorado.
How did you meet Scott McKenzie though for the first time?
Well, they were doing radio stuff, and I was new in town, and they had me on, and then I think they were doing the Orlando TV's Hunkiest Hunk. And I think, which I have won 3 times. I don't like the laughter over there at your end.
No, you're rugged for like TV. I mean, there's a like I have so many questions, but like out of all the people, like I got to tell you, pretty rugged. Like if I had to throw down with anybody, I'd be like, I want Bob Frier on my team.
Oh, I'm scrappy. There's no question. Yeah, I would have your back for sure.
But so when you first when was the first time you came to Orlando? Because you originally were on WKMG, correct?
Yeah, 2001. And I've said this before. I kind of wish that I had gotten into TV a little earlier. Like in the 90s, it seemed like I think my very first TV job was 1996 or
where?
It was in Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
Wow.
I know. I had an offer in St. Joseph, Missouri. I had an offer there, but I turned it down because I was also offered a cable job in Denver. And so I was like, great, I don't have to move. There was this TV channel called Intro Television, and I was going to be the host. And then it got canceled. So the whole thing went bust. So I lost the St. Joseph job, which would have been good. So I had to find something. So I took this, it was the Bureau really of Cheyenne, Wyoming. So it was like market 198. And there's only like 200 markets in the whole country anyway. So I went there for 2 months, and then I went to Palm Springs for 7 months, and then Colorado Springs for 10 months. And then I got my first real job, which was in Oklahoma City.
Wow. And when you were at KMG, who was did you have to come in and be a reporter, or were you?
No, that one was rough. That was rough because there's a guy named David Whitman who was their anchor, and I went down there and I auditioned with for the news director and the general manager. Well, I got the job, and then the news director and the general manager got let go, and they got replaced. And so I'm like, oh man, I'm in limbo. Now, what does this mean? Because the idea was going to be, I was going to go down and anchor an evening newscast and then report for the 11. And David Whitman would be there knowing we'd have to work together, knowing all the time that eventually I was supposed to be his successor. So the new news director came in and said, Skip Ballet, and said, this is crazy. And he called me, and I had already moved down and was getting ready. And he said, Bob, this is crazy. You can't sit next to the guy who knows that you're taking his job. So I've told David that we're going to pay the rest of his salary, and off he went. So I came in as the main anchor right away.
And that was at your first place or at KMG?
That's a KMG.
Okay. So who was the person you were anchoring with, or were you flying?
Lauren Rowe.
Oh man, that's a name I have not thought. She used to.
She was Lauren Perkins at the time.
Yeah,
Lauren Perkins. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Such a nice person, because she did some stuff with us at Real Radio when I was with the sponsors and stuff, and such a kind person. Jacqueline London's another person from Channel 6 that I
two of the greatest people that I've ever worked with, and I'll tell you something that not a lot of people know. When I was let go at KMG, it was because we were in the middle of the recession, and I had signed a contract that was the biggest contract that I had ever signed in my life.
Bit of it. You deserved every bit of it.
Well, that's very kind of you, but when you do something like that, you're the bullseye, right? So if things aren't going well, and things were going fine basically at the station. They've always been sort of, it's usually been Channel 9, Channel 2 and 6 fighting for it, and then Fox 35. But we were in the middle of it, and then the recession hit. And so your higher priced people are the places where they look. Anyway, so I was going to be let go. And within months after that, as you know, I think they canceled a number of their newscasts. They let go like a third of their news staff. So everybody was dying because the recession was just hitting everybody. There were guys a lot better than me sitting on the beach, unemployed too. But Jackie London wrote like a 4-page letter to the higher ups saying, please don't do this. He's the best guy I've ever worked with. We get along so well together. And she went on and on about my qualities and why she wanted to continue working. It was an incredibly sweet, loyal thing to have her do. It didn't work out. They still let me go, but so it was a really nice thing she did.
But that's the thing about broadcasting. You really don't get that type of loyalty sometimes.
No, not at all.
It's every man for himself. And it's really, really weird. Now, it was a bloodbath at Clear Channel around that time too, man. They let off a lot of people during that recession and the housing bubble popping. So if they let you go, like, did you have to wait around any time because of a non-compete, or like since they let you go?
I at the time I tried all over to get a different gig. I went. But that was the problem. Everyone was letting people go. They weren't hiring people. So even if even if there was a job, it was like 1,000 people were trying to get it. So it was difficult. We went out to Colorado for the summer. We stayed out in Colorado and thought, well, maybe we can make something work out here. We still had our house. We were renting it out. And I eventually said, I just really want to come back to Central Florida. So we came back, got our house back. And I had read somewhere, I tried to get into Fox 35, and then the news director that was there wanted, I think he didn't want me as to come in as the anchor. I think, to be totally honest, I think he was looking for an African-American anchor to come in and add some diversity. I said, okay. So then I read on News Blues. If you remember News Blues, it's a website, and he had gotten let go. So I thought, oh, well, maybe there's a chance. And I banged on the door with my resume in hand and saw the general manager let me in, and we were talking, and he said, you and I have met before. And I said, when? And he said, you were emceeing an event and we were at a charity function. And he says, I'll be honest with you. If you were a really nice guy and sat and talked with me, and if you were a jerk, we would not be having this conversation right now. I was like, oh, thank God.
Isn't that great though? Because like you need, radio people are just notorious for this. Like they always just talk garbage about each other. They always kick people when they're down. They love to talk trash. But like I was guilty of that. But now like I now see how that doesn't make sense, because if you weren't nice to that guy, or, it just didn't get, you never know when you meet somebody where they might come back into play in the future. And I'm not, you're a sincere person. I'll admit I do it just because of personal gain and stuff. But what I'm trying to say though, is that you being kind and taking the time, because even me as an intern meeting you and stuff like that, it just, you always took the time to like talk to somebody. And when you talk to somebody, it's like, you can tell when they actually care or they're engaged in what you're trying to say. Yeah. I've had a number of people come up over the years, and I still have that, hey, we met back in such and such. I'm like, oh God, was I okay? What did I do? Did I do anything bad? I don't think I've ever run across that. I've been doing some work with Convention News Television, and the woman there, Abigail, she said, I was like an intern or somebody at Channel 6 way back in the day. Like, oh wow. So it's pretty funny. Of that, you've been doing a little bit of traveling as of late, correct? Like you've been going to somewhere in the Middle East, correct?
Yeah, that was really pretty crazy. I had after I left Fox, I started my own media company, Frier Media Consultants. just getting started. But I got a phone call from a guy that used to work with Homeland Security, and we would have him on and we would interview him anytime. He was like our Middle East expert. And he goes back and forth to Dubai regularly. And he said, hey, would you be at all interested in this position that I've been aware of? It's a media training for like retired ambassadors and military people that would be doing television interviews. They're looking for someone to run their speaker program and to help train them and in how to give TV interviews and, the ins and outs of it, I guess. And I said, yeah, I would. And it took a while for it to there was some stops and starts before it finally happened, but it happened in January. And so I flew to Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates in January, and I was there for 3 months. And I would go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I would in a room full of guys, walking in the full robes and the headdress and everything. They'd walk in and you would say assalamu alaikum when they would come in, and there was a lot of hello, and it was quite an experience. It's very westernized too, though. It is westernized. Everything, things are in English too.
Yeah, like Dubai and a lot of those places are, a little bit more westernized, but
yeah,
culturally,
but it's still the Middle East.
Yeah, I know that's what I was gonna. Culturally, did you have somebody tell, all right, this is what you need to do, and this is what you don't do? So you don't.
I was really worried about that when I went over. So I watched a bunch of videos. And I read, okay, the 10 most do not, the 10 taboos of being in the Middle East, there's things not to do. And a lot of it was no hugging, no physical affection.
The women thing is
women.
Also, yeah.
Don't even extend your hand to shake their hand unless they extend their hand to you. All these things. So I was really worried. So what's the first thing that I do, Tuddle, when I get over there? I go and I use the women's bathroom on accident.
Oh, Jesus.
I was totally concerned. Wow. And I walked in and then I went, hang on, I didn't see any urinals in here. Oh,
I did that at movie theater. The first new Star Wars movie, I was at the movie theater. It was late at night because we went to a midnight showing. I wasn't paying attention. I was tired. I worked morning radio that morning, and I wasn't paying attention. And I did the same thing. I was like, there's no urinals in this place. But nobody saw me. Did anybody see you or no?
But, well, here's the thing. If they had caught you, they would have just shuffled you out of there. If they had caught me, who knows where they would have taken me. There's some woman in there.
Have you brought your wife over there yet?
No, I've only gone once. I'm going back again at the end of the summer. I'm going back for another 3 month stint. So this is an ongoing thing.
Do you know if you brought your wife over there, like if she would have to, like, out of respect, wear I mean,
she would not. No, she absolutely would not. Tom Sorrell's wife got in touch with me. She was going over there, and she wanted to know, should I wear long pants and long sleeves and all this? I'm like, you are at muted colors type thing. And I said, you can wear shorts. You don't have to wear, the only thing you have to wear is a mask right now because of the pandemic, but you don't have to wear is it called a hijab?
Yeah.
You don't have to wear any of that. Absolutely not.
I was gonna. That was one of my questions, and I know that it's very radio type question, but I'm always like, I group TV personalities. So like, if I'm talking to a baseball guy or an athlete, I'll be like, oh, what's the Mount Rushmore of your favorite baseball players? But meteorologists,
right?
Tom Sorrell's. Now that is another guy like that is just on another level when it comes to Orlando and stuff and meteorology. Like, if you had to name your Mount Rushmore of meteorologists across all the 4 stations, FTV, KMG, WESH, or Fox, like what?
Yeah, Tom, you got to put up there.
Yeah. Tom's definitely.
Tom Sorrell's you got to put up. Tom Terry and I actually worked together.
He was at 6. That's another one that's gone from one station to another.
But here's the funny thing. He was being let go at Channel 6 when I first got there. So he was only there for a few weeks when I got there, and then landed over at Channel 9. and has just still doing amazing things with him. But he and I worked together in Oklahoma too.
Oh,
we were in Oklahoma together.
Chaser. He's like, yeah. And, it's funny because this was early in my radio career when that happened. I was the producer at Magic 107.7. Tom Terry, came in and did a couple of guest spots because D Muccio's co-host had left. I think she was doing traffic at channels. Darby or whatever was doing at one of the places. And then we were bringing in, come to find out, Leslie Gale was the one that got that gig at that time. But Tom Terry came in, such a nice guy, Tom Terry. And everybody has this running gig. If Tom Terry takes the jacket off and he's got the sleeves rolled up, is when you got to start taking things seriously.
He brought a lot of that's sort of an Oklahoma thing. The guys there in Oklahoma would do that too. Yeah, and then the hunker down, right?
Yeah, hunkered down. Tony Manolfi is another one that I've had the chance of meeting as well too. Very, very nice guy. But you got to
pay Sweezy.
I see her on Fox 13 now.
Yeah, she's on 13. Yeah,
and she's doing that Growing Boulder show with Bill Schaefer and Middleton. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, there's so many of the great ones. That's another question I wanted to ask you, and you don't have to go into details, but have you found it working in local news? And I've seen this is that the men get to age a little bit more graceful than the women. No, and I think this is a thing because I
think it's fair.
No, I think women sometimes maybe, get pushed out a little bit earlier than some of the men do because of, it's something that happens to all of us, aging.
Yeah. I mean, Wendy Chioji, she was doing fantastic, and then I think she got a raw deal from WASH. What do I know? Oh God, what's her name? Well, Martha Segalski went to Channel 9, and who's the woman that's there?
Marty Salt was there too.
Marty Salt. Marty Salt went down to Tampa and then came back, and then. She's still there, isn't she? Is she at Channel 9 still?
No, I think she retired. She retired, but yeah, she did end up coming back. It was just something that I always ask, because I just watching, you're like, man, they let the guys get a little bit older than some of the women, and I just was like, man, it just seems like a big double standard sometimes.
I suppose that's true. I think that may be true in a lot of fields, but yeah, it's a visual medium, and I guess there is that it's completely unfair. There are a lot of women though that have remained.
Claire, I've already talked about.
Let me tell you something. Having a long career in television is an unusual thing. The fact that I had a 25-year career in TV is a lot. The fact that I was in one town for 20 years is a lot. There's very few that can say that. Bob Obsal was allowed to retire on his own, so that's an amazing thing. Who's the guy at WESH? Who's the main guy at WESH? Jim Payne.
Yeah, Jim Payne.
Jim Payne has been there for a long time. Even Amy Caulfield being at Fox 35 for as long as she's been there. That's a long career at one station.
Now, you do media consulting, telling people how I've always wanted, because I, as a radio person, I covered the Casey Anthony trial, and I got a lot of, good sound bites and stuff. I've always wanted to go out there and do the field reporting, because sometimes I think some of the field reporters, they don't ask good follow-up questions. They'll take no for an answer and stuff.
Right.
What do I got to do? Will you take me as a client?
Sure.
Because, I don't know, at 41, I mean, is it too late for me? I think I can get out there.
You want to do a career as a TV reporter?
Well, I mean, I think it would be great to get out there. Look at what it did for Justin Warmoth. Justin Warmoth, man, he's got a career ahead of him right now.
Very nice guy, by the way. Very nice guy.
And he's got a lineage there. I mean, he's got Greg Warmoth as his dad and everything. Yeah. Oh, that was one of the questions. Facial hair. What is usually the because they're letting have you seen Justin? Like
I've
they're
not.
letting
I don't. I'll be honest with you.
you don't
I
watch news
local
anymore.
news. I don't.
I don't listen to radio anymore either. But
Yeah.
they're letting him grow facial hair now. Very manicured though. Like, is that like in your contract when you sign it? Like, are you?
No. But I always thought I looked better without it, so I never wore any kind of facial hair. And I think the problem is you're on TV all the time, and so like a beard. Maybe if you took a month off or 2 weeks off, depending on how fast your hair grows, you might come back with a beard and be okay. But you can't. It's that in between stage that always looks bad. You don't want to show up with, just sort of just stubble. You know what I mean?
It's very manicured though. All right. I know that you're a busy man, and I'm very appreciative of this. One final question out of TV.
That went fast. How long have we talked?
It's 12:24 right now, but I mean, I got plenty of questions. I just didn't want to like keep you on for too long.
You're fine.
Out of all the TV and movies that have been created, which one's got it right about working in the news format?
Broadcast news. Do you remember the movie Broadcast News? That was fantastic. The one that makes me crazy is a movie called Up Close and Personal. Michelle Pfeiffer and Robert Redford.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so she goes in to. You remember the movie? She goes into the prison to interview this prisoner, and then she's got her one camera person with her with one camera. The riot breaks out and they all shut down. And then theoretically, they're supposed to be able to go live from inside the prison. They can't go live inside the prison. They didn't bring their live equipment with them and they still have to hook up to the truck. Then she's interviewing somebody and then they cut to her face. They have one camera. They can't be interviewing one person, then cut back to the other face. It used to drive me nuts.
Have you watched Apple TV's The Morning Show? That one's
I saw the first season. I saw the first season of that and didn't watch the rest.
Yeah, I mean the second one they really didn't have a lot to work with because it was just basically doing the because on the first season they covered the Me Too thing. They and
it's the Matt Lauer type.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then they did the pandemic and stuff, and it was just like, man, it's just a little slow for them to be able to. And then Steve Carell thing, they hammered that a little bit more halfway up to it. What was the one where the guy? It was on HBO recently. I forget the name of that one off the
Newsroom?
top. Yeah, I think
Newsroom, and it's with Jeff Daniels.
Yes,
I love the Newsroom.
You did like it.
Adored the Newsroom. Yeah, great show.
He had me hooked when he was on stage and
the panel. Yeah, his first speech.
I mean that had me hooked from the beginning. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I will go back and I will watch. I've watched so many scenes from that thing and again and again. I've seen the speech 1,000 times. Or towards the end, that same girl that asks him the question, "What makes America the greatest country on earth?" And she is there wanting to get a job at the studio, and he had said, "Ask me your idiot question again." He says, "What makes America the greatest place on earth?" And he says, "You do." It's just a fantastic show. Fantastic.
And what's your worst blooper or worst like mess up being on the air? Like, have you ever had any big ones?
Can I swear on here?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't me that did it. I do have a blooper that wound up on the Dick Clark America's Funniest Blooper. Yeah, Jackie London and I got paid for it, but they sent us a check. Jackie was holding Girl Scout cookies, right? She's holding them up like this, and I reached from out of frame to grab and sort of tug at them as if I wanted them, and she wouldn't let go. And then I let go right as she was pulling hard this way, and the box
oh no way
hit her hard right in the teeth. And she couldn't continue. She just dissolved, but it was quite a pop. And
you cursed on the air one time? I
didn't curse. What happened was I was in Oklahoma. I was doing a Halloween event, and it was for Alice Cooper's haunted house thing, right? And one of the high school kids was this creature that was only from the torso up. They did some special effects so that he was there, but it looked like he had no legs, right? And he had to give this speech as the people would come in. You fools, you thought Jeff Planet was real, da 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 da. And I said, you do your speech, and then we'll pan down to me, and I'll do my intro to the story, then we'll go. So he starts doing his speech, and then he goes, you fools, you thought that, oh shit. Whoa.
Well, I mean, what's the best of, okay, you're a media consultant. Like, if something like that happens, is the best thing to move on like it didn't happen?
At that point, I would say all you can do is say, well, we apologize for that, live television, and then you move on. Because at that point, it's not your responsibility. It's not really like the station isn't going to get fined because it's sort of out of their control. You know what I mean? That just like a golf. Golf, it happens all the time. A golfer will swear, or somebody will.
Tiger,
yeah,
notorious for that. But they don't run delays at the news stations.
Not on. And I always thought that was dangerous too. Like in the hurricanes, we would have phone calls, and we would say, ask Tom a question or something, and Tom, yeah. But they didn't have a delay. We're not set up for that, so we don't have a delay. I would get that question a lot too. When do you guys record that news? I'm like, we do it live. Can you imagine? We record a newscast, and then all of a sudden something horrible happens, and we're talking about the weather, and something's exploding somewhere.
But it's the news, though. I don't think the news should ever be edited, though. Like, I really, really don't. Like, they won't show things, or they'll bleep out certain things, or they'll always at the beginning, warning, or we would, like with the guy falling. Yeah, out of respect to the family, the guy that was on the amusement ride, the free fall thing down there. I mean,
that happened. That happened the day I got back from Abu Dhabi. I couldn't believe it.
But I never think that the news should be edited. Like, if you're getting a soundbite from somebody, I think the news should like have free range when it comes to something like that, when you're reporting the facts in the news and stuff. I mean, what do you think?
Do you think it has you think it has less impact if it's a bleep rather than someone saying the word?
I do.
I don't disagree with you. I think if you're watching, sometimes when you're watching like Congress and congressional hearings or something, and they'll allow whatever is being said to be said. I think if you tune into something like that, then you need to understand that you might be getting that. But the problem is the airwaves are free for all intents and purposes. They're supposed to be free, and people can tune in. Like if you tune into satellite radio, you're paying for something, right? And so that they then figure, okay, you're asking for what you're getting. But when you turn on the TV in the middle of the day, it's hard. It's hard to make the argument that people should be subjected to that kind of language or that kind of whatever if they're not expecting it, because you're not expecting it.
What about 10 o'clock news? Safe harbor. I mean, you're after 10. I mean, I get what you're saying.
I would be all for that at that point. I think if you say, hey, warning, some of this may be offensive, well, then you've given them fair warning. At that point, you have a chance to turn off the TV. You know what I mean? I think the FCC should loosen that.
Yeah, I really do.
Although I don't think when you say some of these videos are graphic,
they shouldn't show that type of stuff. But they're showing Ukraine stuff with dead bodies all over.
They're fuzzing it out. But there's some really horrible things that you could see that that to me is just out of respect for the victims. You just can't show that.
All right, let's get into Masters. I've heard like it's paradise. Like every single like blade of grass is all the same length.
It's amazing.
It is. Like, explain. All right, so you go there first time. Did you go first day, second day, third day, fourth, or did you go the whole?
We went Tuesday practice round.
Okay.
Tuesday practice round.
How was it? Like, I mean, is it pretty nice?
Okay. First, the weather was amazing. We did get rained out in the afternoon, so we only got to stay for like 4 hours. You walk in and it's run so well. Like I've been to a number of golf tournaments, and you feel a little bit like,
Bay Hill.
Take care of yourself. Bay Hill. Yeah, sure. Many times. Run great. This is different. This is like going from a carnival fair to Walt Disney World or Universal, right? You walk in and the staff is, number one, trained perfectly. You walk by, welcome to the Masters. Welcome to the Masters. You know, you're just like, oh, thank you very much as you walk in. And the food is, as you know, completely inexpensive. They get you through so fast because there's all of it made. Yeah.
I've heard pimento cheese sandwiches. Somebody was saying
that's
something about
sort of the classic. Yeah, it's the
that,
classic up there.
That's what I heard. I didn't know like Georgia or Augusta was like known for their pimento cheese.
I didn't either. And it's not really my thing, so I didn't have it. And people are like, you didn't have the pimento? I was like,
what'd you have?
Chicken sandwich. What do you want?
All right.
So, but you walk in and you sort of go under. It's a long procession to get finally into the course, and then once you're there, everything is just. It was serene. It was cool. It was so green, and you walk in and you're right on number one. You walk up to the tee box is here, and it just drops down and then goes back up the hill. That down, how Tiger walked that thing, I had no idea. I was sore after just walking for a few hours out there. Hills, side hills, the greens just drop off to either side, but it is so lush and so green. We walked and followed Dustin Johnson for a few holes. Even my wife was walking with me saying, this is so beautiful. This grass is just so lush, so amazing. We sat on 16 for a little while and watched them skip a few shots across the water, like they do.
Yeah.
And then the storm started to move in. So we had to go around one grandstand and we wound up right on the green of 13. Right at the end of Amen Corner, but all those azaleas right behind it. We took a ton of pictures, and I'm just surprised at how sloped it is, how far Ray's Creek extends into the fairway, and then we walked back through 13, and Amen Corner just revealed itself slowly. Hogan's Bridge came in, and then number 12. It was like an out of body religious experience for someone who has watched the Masters since 1980, whatever.
What do you shoot? Do you play?
I do play. I'm not a great golfer by any stretch. If I really, back in the day, I'd shoot probably 80 to 83, somewhere in there. I think I might have broken 80 once in my life. But now just on a regular day, if we go out and shoot, I always play Winter Park 9, that little 9-hole course. And I'll probably shoot 5 over, 4 over, something like that.
What would you shoot at Augusta if you had?
I'd probably still be there hacking away.
Well, Bob, man, I really appreciate it. Oh, what I would, Sonny would kick me in the ass if I did not ask this because I did a little show prep.
I'll tell you a secret about Sonny too. When you're done. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, is it true that you would play, like if you guys had to wait because of like baseball game delays and stuff, that you would play show tunes on a piano in Studio B for people or
yeah.
Yeah, I think that is one of the coolest. You know what? I would have, I probably would have committed a felony just to be able to be. I mean, what kind of piano was it? Just like just you?
Well, when we had a piano, I sometimes would bring my piano in. Like we still had the band even after Scott passed away, and sometimes we would come up and I would bring a keyboard into the empty studio to put my headphones on and practice during like dinner breaks and stuff. Some songs that I wasn't sure I knew, so I would practice in there. And so if we had time, we'd go in and I usually have sheet music, and we would play, usually not show tunes. I know show tunes.
She said, I will show you on the thing. I'm not trying to she did say here, I will quote exactly what Sonny said. I'm not trying to be she did. Hold on. I gotta see exactly.
Yeah, I'm not denying. I'm not denying.
I know that. She said on nights we had extended coverage or had to be there late for a baseball game, we'd all go in and sing show tunes.
We would go in and we would play. I would play Desperado. We would play Elton John songs. We would play Beatles songs. I'm trying to think of what show tune I could actually play reasonably. It was more like I sing show tunes because I do like Broadway shows, and I did a lot of theater before I did TV.
What'd you do? What did you do?
I got my first degree in vocal performance, musical theater.
Well, what performance?
I probably did 40 shows. So I did Oklahoma twice, Grand Hotel, Evita, The Man of La Mancha.
Wow.
I did. I mean, all your basic ones. Sound of Music. I was Rolf.
I gotta hear the Sunny story though, because I gotta tell you, I have had her on my podcast twice, and like that's the only one that I've been like nervous because my God, Sunny is just like
she's so beautiful.
Oh my God! Like seriously, like I was like, oh my God, this might be the most beautiful woman that I've ever like interviewed or talked to, but I gotta hear a Sunny Abada story.
Okay, and let me tell you this: she doesn't disappoint in person too.
No,
she's a stunningly beautiful woman. If you really ever just need to make her cry,
no, I don't want to make her.
You can no tears of, and I would do it to her every time. The Giving Tree. All you have to do is say, "Come, boy, come, swing on my branches." Bob, don't do it, Bob. I mean, literal tears coming down her face.
All right, I'm gonna rehearse that because I am gonna have her on the show soon because she's always good and she can come swing on my branch. Was that
swing,
it?
Or whatever? Take my branches.
Okay,
Use them to build a boat. I have nothing left to give. All I need is a place to sit. I am just a stump. Come, boy, sit, rest.
All right, man. But the thing is, she's so busy, man. She is just like constantly creating content, man. Like she is running with all this stuff that she's.
Yeah, I asked her that what she was going to do when she left, and she was very non-committal about. She goes, I don't know, and I think she's just sort of found her way to this. I don't know exactly what it is that it is. I've tuned in and watched a couple of them. It's We Gotta Talk with Sunny.
Yeah.
Right?
But she's also like doing all these product reviews and brand ambassador type stuff. And it's like, that's funny, man, because like I've been working broadcasting, you know, on and off with some big shows and everything, but it's like learning, putting out this content because the market is just so saturated with stuff and you never know what's going
to break through.
Yeah, I mean, and just doing makeup reviews, like she's doing all types of hits, but it also, like if I was the male like version of Sunny Abada, like in some, just like, I mean, she's talented, but like you said, I got a face for radio, or like people have said, I got a face for radio and stuff.
That's not true.
But what I'm trying to say though is like I think she's doing a great job, and
like, she's got 3 kids at the same time, and she's doing all of that. So she whatever it is she's doing really, really well.
All right,
and she seems 10 times happier than when she was doing 3 or 4 newscasts every single day.
What was the worst thing about doing TV news?
That the repetitiveness into the exact same room doing the exact same thing, and knowing that the stories we're all doing are the exact, like it becomes so much less about journalism now and more
ratings.
It's now so much more just focused on the ratings and how do we get people watching, and this stupid social media thing that I grew so tired of. You've got to post so many things a day to get your share rocket number up and be among the top. I'm like, but what? And first it's Twitter, now it's Instagram, and now it's
TikTok.
It's just, I can't keep up, and they don't really even know. They can't monetize it, so they don't know what to do with it yet.
It's like that on radio now. Like if you go to, interview with a program director, they look at your social media numbers and stuff. They do every bit of that. You were talking about was there like, I would think, because you're seeing like more, I mean, there's always been violence being reported on news, but like, did it ever like depress you reporting like as day in and day out on some of these stories?
People have asked me that in the past, and I think you do become a little bit jaded to the world, the horribleness. And there are some stories that I just can't. I just can't. Anything to do with children, obviously. Murder stories are one thing, but at some point you've read so many of them. Things tend to not shock you. This stuff going on in the Ukraine is obviously depressing. I'm glad I don't have to report about it. But there was one story out of California. It was a little boy who had, this one got to me, a little boy who pushed his sister out of the way of a guy who was trying to kidnap her. and he shoved her out of the way, and the guy grabbed him instead and took him, and he was found in the California desert maybe 5 days later.
Man.
And that I went and covered his funeral, and everyone, there were thousands of people there, and it was, and there was the R. Kelly song, I Believe I Can Fly.
Yeah.
That was his favorite song, and so they play that, and I was like, oh boy.
What was the biggest story you think that when you worked in Orlando, was it Pulse, or was it like?
No, Pulse was huge. I think it got to be the Casey Anthony.
Yeah,
Casey Anthony, George Zimmerman, or Pulse. Obviously,
that Casey Anthony thing was, Cheney Mason wrote about me in his book.
Really?
Yeah, he called me the radio jackal because, like none of the other people, like I would camp out because, they could have easily taken the limo or a car into the garage of the courthouse, but they wanted to walk that like stretch from the Bank of America building over to the courthouse, but they wouldn't really answer any questions. They wanted to be in front of the camera.
So they wanted the show.
Yeah. But I warned them, like, first couple of days. The reason they talked to me, the reason I was out there reporting it, is when I was working with Bubba the Love Sponge over in Tampa, we wrote a couple of parody songs, and Jose Baez had asked about, because you got to remember the jury was picked in Tampa. So like they were asking, do you listen to the Bubba the Love Sponge show? And they actually played the parody song, have you heard any of this stuff? And he was like, you got to go out and cover this. And first couple of days, they answered a couple of my questions, but then I would ask questions. I was like, if you're not going to answer any of my stuff or any of these reporters' questions, I'm going to ask you the most vile, worst things that I can ask you. And I feel kind of bad about it. And the only reason I know, because Cheney, I got him to curse twice on live TV, by the way. After they won the trial, they were partying.
I think I know this.
He flipped the bird. That was
flipped the bird.
Yeah. So Jane Velez Mitchell is live with Nancy Grace at the time on Headline News and CNN. And Jane comes up to me and she's like, what did he just do to you? And I flipped the double bird finger into the camera, and she was so mad. And I was like, what are you mad? It's cable news. It's not like you're going to get in trouble because I flipped the bird into the camera. Oh, man, she was mad. But then Cheney told me to fuck off. Like when a whole bunch
of
he did. Like he was like, awesome. and then he got these, the sheriff's office at the courthouse to like, I never touched him. I always walked behind him because that's the other thing I learned. They would like to walk fast if you were in front of them, to bump into you, to say that like you were assaulting them and stuff.
Really?
And he went up to the sheriff, said to get me kicked out, and he was like, I can't do anything. He's allowed to be here. He's just asking you questions and stuff. Yeah. He's part of the media, and man, he was so mad. He was so.
That's really funny.
Him and Steve Barrett got into it big time.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I did not have to be out there for that. I was out there at before Kaylee was found. I was at the house.
Oh yeah.
So I did a few nights of coverage from out there. The worst thing that happened to me personally during the trial was when we had Geraldo Rivera come on, and he would come into the studio, and I walked into the dressing room one day, and I found him using my electric razor to comb out his mustache.
Hey, no, but I mean, I would have been mad too, but man, I mean, that's one of the most famous mustaches in news. Right? Like you could have eBayed that for like a little bit of money, I think.
Yeah. That being said, he was one of the most generous and nicest people to come in, always free with his time, and answered questions from people. And, he knew he was a big deal. But he was very cool when he would come into the studio.
Well, Mr. Frier.
Hey, let me ask you, when you were with, I want to ask you something.
Okay, go ahead.
I used to listen to the Monsters. When I first got here, I would listen to the Monsters all the time.
Yep.
Right. Were you were part of the band too? Didn't you play in the band?
No, I never played anything. I was more of the guy that would like, I ran the board. We would play like sound effects and stuff and music and stuff. So I would do that. I have the worst rhythm in the world. Like I seriously, I do. I have the worst rhythm in the world, but I was like, I did all the stunt stuff. Like I was buried alive in concrete for like 3 days. That
You can't do that.
No, they did. Like I did.
Didn't you fight a girl or wanted to fight a girl?
No, I was the intergender champion of the world. I was 48-1. The only who was the chick from Orlando that was the heavyweight champion? Her husband tried to kill her. Remember? She was the boxer.
Not Rousey.
No, not Rousey, but she was a boxer. I forget her name. Oh man, that was the only woman that I lost to. But I had to. I fought like 9 women that day, and I had to, in between each round, I had to drink a beer and take a shot of alcohol in 100-degree heat out in Daytona Beach. Yeah, I look back on some of the stuff that I've done, and I'm like not proud of it. But
I very much enjoyed the like I used to get the discs of all their songs, so I have remained friends. Relatively good.
Are you
Bubba
Wilson? Yeah.
Bubba and I are good friends. I've run into Bubba a number of times, and I asked him for the music to Ever at the Drunken Piano, and I have it downstairs. He wrote down the chord structure and all the words. Jeff Howell. I emailed him one time because I needed the word. I needed to hear the song. And I think it might be you laughing in the background. It's someone laughing in the background of "Whoop by a," the song I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was me. That was a song because I did get beat by a gay man at the Roxy. He destroyed me, and that's where I was like, yep, you know what?
The song was about you?
Yeah, it's about me. Yeah. Oh yeah,
I've never laughed so hard in my life.
But speaking of music, one of the funniest, Dennis DeYoung from Styx came into the studio.
Yeah. And then Bubba was mad about it.
Yeah. Well, Bubba came in and he did Southern Girls, but he did it like Dennis DeYoung would do. But and that's the thing about Dennis DeYoung. Like he did a whole bunch of songs for us, but he did not play the whole song. He would only do like the first verse and then the chorus and just stop it. And but then Bubba, that was pretty cool to see, man. He's got a voice on him.
Who, Dennis DeYoung?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dennis does. And I watched just recently Bubba because it was his version of Drunk Up in Denny's.
It was Drunk at Denny's that he did.
Drunk at Denny's, and that's the one that they put on the disc because it was so good. But I've been trying to find his live version in the studio version of Ever at the Drunken Piano because it was adorable.
I have it.
Okay, send that to me because I love it.
By the way,
it was the Jeff Howell whooped thing where he says something. Maybe it was while singing the theme song from Cheers or something. Someone is laughing and has to walk away clearly in the background because they're laughing so. That was Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel was laughing his ass off. That's another guy. I got to get man. Tom and Dan are killing it with their podcast. Those guys have got like their own studio, like right in Baldwin Park. Like it's like they're doing really, really well because they walked away from big contracts from Real Radio to start their own thing.
No kidding.
Yeah, they did. They're doing really, really well.
Well, seemingly that's kind of the way things are going right now. It's like anyone that you talk to in TV, I will guarantee you. Well, most people, anyone that I've ever sat in that chair with, we would look at each other and go, "Man, if there was anything else we could do, we would love to get out of this." Because it looks like it's a great gig, and it is. And for the most part, it's a fantastic gig, but it's a grind day after day in the same place doing the same thing.
Man, I hate wait. Did they ever let you ad lib, or were you ever a story where you were like, man, I wish I could give my opinion on this, but you can't as
never would want anyone to give their opinion. And I'm really sort of aghast at some of the things that I'm seeing that are put out on Twitter. Like people at my old station that are liking things that are clearly either party, Republican agenda or critical of the Democratic, and they're liking and retweeting and things like that. I'm like, guys, you can't be doing, you just can't be doing that. Because the moment you do that, now you're biased. You know what I mean? You can't, how can you be a reporter if you're out there liking things that are clearly showing an agenda,
Jim Phillips, I learned a lot about news because, Jim Phillips ran a newsroom for a while. And do you realize he would not allow any of his people to take gifts from any, like, hey, you want to come out to the Magic game or tickets or anything like that? Because he was like, what if you got to report on a story? Like, something like that. Man, he was the enemy of the Magic there for a little bit because he was completely anti people paying for that new arena and stuff at one time.
Disney showed up and was given, they would show up to the station with Mickey and Minnie and whatever, and they would give away stuff, and our news director sent them all back. Now, we have been invited to media nights and things like that, and I always went to those, like Halloween Horror Nights, or Disney would have Mickey's Very Not So Scary whatever, and they'd invite a lot of people. I would usually go to those, but it is a fine line.
I like going to those so you could see the big bosses drunk off their ass and stuff. That's where I like to go. So, all right, Bob, Mr. Frier, I gotta put some respect on your name. That's why I say Mr. Frier. But
you can call me Bob. Bob is just fine. Do you still go by Tuddle or no?
Yeah, I do. Look, it's been 20 years. What
are you gonna do?
Well, I mean, I just got this. I mean, you really can't change it. Radio, we're all, given stupid radio names and stuff. So it's like,
well, Jim doesn't go by Dirty Jim anymore. I've been on Jim's program a couple times, and he and I would host that. What is it? It was up at the zoo. It was a murder mystery.
Zoo Done It.
Zoo Done It. He and I would MC that, and we would have a ball.
Man, he's a great
doing
guy.
That. You asked me if I ad-libbed. When I went into the mornings, you could do a lot more ad-libbing. And anytime I would host an event, people usually come up to me afterwards and they say, well, you're really funny and fun. Why you're not, I don't see that side of you when you're on TV. I'm like, well, I'm doing the news. I can't really, you know what I mean? I can't inject humor into, the traffic accident story or whatever.
Man. All right, Bob, I really, really appreciate this. Do you want to mention anything, people, or you just coming on the chat?
I'm just coming on to chat. You asked me to chit chat, and keep an eye out for Frier Media Consultants. That's my company, and that's going to be growing. I'll be going back to Abu Dhabi in the fall, so I'll be there for 3 months at a time. And
the World Cup when you're over there.
I'm thinking about it. It's in Qatar. I'm thinking about. And also I'm emceeing Opera Orlando, Orlando Opera Orlando, one of the two. Their fundraiser May 21st over at the Al Fondin.
Awesome. Well, listen, man, I really, really appreciate the time, and I can't thank you enough.
Tuddle, I appreciate it, brother. Good to see you.